Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I would like to welcome you all to week number 20 of the HORRORMan's SlashBack Saturday Challenge. This week's slasher movie theme is Sample Size Slasher, and I will be giving my review for Masters of Horror episode number 1, Incident on and Off a Mountain Road. Okay, so getting into the plot for this one. You've always got to expect the unexpected and do the unexpected. It's the chilling advice a young woman thinks about late one night on a lonely stretch of mountain road. The warning from her survivalist ex-husband becomes all too real when a car accident leaves her alone, hurt, and hunted by a backwoods maniac called Moonface. She's learned how to live. She's been trained how to kill. But when trapped in the monster's killing ground, will she know how to survive the most horrific confrontation of all? Okay, so getting into my thoughts for this one. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is that Incident on and Off a Mountain Road is a part of the Masters of Horror anthology series that debuted on Showtime back on October 28th of 2005. It was produced by Mick Garris. It ran for 2 seasons and had 26 episodes. Each week, a new episode would premiere every Friday night, and I remember having a lot of excitement for this series. I mean, who wouldn't love the idea of having a Masters of Horror series, getting to watch a new episode each week with our favorite horror directors? Now, that does set the bar pretty high, and Season 1 was pretty well received, but as Season 2 rolled around, it had some of the weaker episodes in my opinion, and that seemed to be the general opinion amongst most horror fans. So it was canceled after the second season. Then it was picked up by NBC in 2008 and released as Fear itself and kept the same premise. Okay, so getting into my actual thoughts of the episode number 1, Incident on and Off a Mountain Road. This episode was directed by Coscarelli. Now, we all know him from Phantasm and Beastmaster. He is a really good director, and he did a really good job on this episode. Now, these are hour-long episodes, so you really have to kind of get the ball rolling pretty quick on these episodes. And I thought what he did here was pretty solid. I'm only recalling about 5 characters in this movie. Our main character is driving on a back road around a mountain. It's dark, and she's kind of reflecting about her past life. And this story does have some flashback segments. Most of them are kind of lit in the daytime, but there is a couple of flashbacks that are nighttime flashbacks. But she's having flashbacks of her husband and some of the things she went through with him. And that kind of comes and goes throughout the story as this episode moves along. So she's driving along on this desolate road, and I do recall seeing a sign that said no gas stations for 75 miles, or it said something like that, a road sign. So she's on a pretty isolated back road, and as she's driving along, and it's at nighttime, most of the main segment of the episode is happening at night. And she's driving along, and she runs up on a car that is in the middle of the road, and it causes her to have an accident. As she is searching alongside of the road for the owner of the other vehicle, she has her first encounter with Moonface, and the chase begins. Now, this is all within the first 5 minutes of the movie, so I'm going to leave it there. What's interesting about this female lead is where she has the past history with her husband, she has been taught to fight and survive. The interactions between her and Moonface are pretty interesting because she is using a lot of survival skills to try to survive this night. And she comes up with some pretty interesting traps, and she is definitely not willing to go down without a fight. As I had mentioned before, this episode only has 5 characters that I can recall. We have our female lead, who is our final girl. We have flashback segments with her husband. We have Moonface, who is the story's villain. We have Angus Scrimm, who you guys will recognize from the Phantasm series. It was really nice to get to see him have a part in this episode. And we also get to see the owner of the car that causes the accident on the main road. With there being so few characters in this episode, there's not much of a body count to even speak of, and that's unfortunate for a slasher episode, and I guess you could consider this a sample size slasher because there's not much of a kill count to speak of. Now, we do get to see some of the killer's past works. He likes to hang his victims up in his front yard as scarecrows. He drills the eyes out, and that's kind of an interesting concept. There's one scene where our lead character, she stumbles across Moonface's house. And as she's walking through the front yard, she sees the moon shining down, and it's shining through one of the scarecrow's eyes. And it's a really neat effect. There's some really neat shots in this episode that feature the moon, and I really think that stands out, and it gives this a little bit of its own identity, especially with the villain being called Moonface. He actually does not like that name, and it upsets him. I would have really liked to see more of this episode and it be more of a featured length film, because I think there was a lot of really good ideas here, and I wished it could have been longer. That would be my only complaint. I really enjoy this episode. It's really fun. It really got the series started off on the right foot. The only negative is just there's not much of a kill count or anything like that. We do have really strong characters, especially our female lead. She is a survivalist and a fighter, and I really enjoyed her character. So overall, this is a really solid segment. I'm only going to give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I just was wanting more. So a 7 out of 10 is my score. If you have seen this episode, please comment below and let me know what you think about it. Or just comment below and let me know what you think about my review. And I would like to thank you all for watching.